What's up, guys? So we're back out in the garage today with a pretty cool project for the DRZ400. Lately, since this is my only bike now, I've sold all the street bikes, and I sold my other KLR 650. This being my only bike, I have wanted to ride it to work a bit, and I don't really want to do that with the current tires that are on it. The wheels were fine, you know, I could put other tires on here that I have, but then it's kind of the issue of having to take these tires off every time. And then if I wanted to go in the dirt, you know, in the next week or so, or I would have to put them back on. And these are what I was running. I think they're Pirelli Scorpions street tires, you know, a 21 and an 18, just like that's on here, except these are dirt tires and those are street. So that was my options for riding street when I wanted to go over to the next town, or if I wanted to ride this bike to work, because we do have a gated property at work, so I don't have to worry about the bike at all being left outside while I work my shift. But anyway, project for today is converting this to a Supermoto, which is going to be pretty fun. So over here in this box we have everything I need to convert this to a Supermoto, which is basically wheels, tires, and we got a new sprocket to put on the rear. It's gonna go, this is a 47, so I'm running 15-47 gearing right now. We're gonna go to a 15, which we're gonna leave the front, and we're gonna go to a 44. What that's gonna allow me to do is not change my chain size. Between the two, I'll be able to have enough to go. If I went any smaller than that, like a 42 in the rear or something, I would have to change this chain size because this would be too long of a chain. So that's going to allow me to leave this chain on, even though this chain is a clip type. It's not. I didn't rivet this one on. I do have a clip type on here, so it's going to allow me to change this chain out, or not have to change this chain out. I mean, that way, whenever I want to go from dirt to street, all I got to do, take the front wheel off, rear wheel off, put another one on the rear. So we're going to go ahead and unbox this, and we're going to kind of do something else too, because these are what you would call eBay rims. And what that means is, whereas these are OEM, really like nice rims, you know, they're aluminum, stainless steel spokes. Those are aluminum as well, and I think they're like 7,000 and 6,000 between the rim and the hub, depending on what kind of aluminum they are. It's what it says they are. And then it's got stainless steel spokes. So for the tech specs of those, they're as good as these. But we don't know about the quality. There's really not a lot of information out there about this or these rims. So we're going to kind of, over time, I'll be testing these, and then I'll put up another video of how they're doing, you know, how the anodized coating's doing, because I did get them in a colored form, and we'll see that shortly. And kind of that way, it'll kind of let everybody know, if they're looking into purchasing some rims like these off of eBay, what they're getting into and how they're going to last. So let's go ahead and get this stuff unboxed and see what we got. Alright, so right after I clicked record unboxing, I had a memory card error, so I went in and switched my adapter. I think it was the adapter that's the problem. So I've already cut the straps, and I've cut the tape around this, and I was trying to say that it was really good packaging. You got cardboard corner pieces, and this is about 1 inch thick of cardboard here on top and bottom of these. So now we should be able to go ahead and sit this whole box on the floor, and then I'll pull out the rim and the wheel one by one. And it is heavy. Alright, let's go ahead and get the front wheel out first. And it's all completely wrapped in bubble wrap here. I have to have the knife cut that tape. And all of this, even though it's made in China, it all shipped out of California. And they shipped it FedEx, and I believe I ordered it, man, I'm not sure now, but it didn't take long. It was supposed to be here next Monday, it ended up updating and saying Friday, and then it updated and said it was going to be here today. So here we are. Yeah, I'm definitely liking the looks of this so far. It definitely looks really good. It's got this bungee cord tied through here to hold these plastic pieces on either side. And yeah, this looks really nice. You can see it's KKE right here. That's the branding of it on eBay. So if you search KKE rims, that's what you're going to find. And then we have here CST, which is the maker of the tire, which if you don't know, this is Changshin Tire Company, which is a Chinese brand. But what you probably don't know is Changshin Tire is the parent company to Maxxis tires, which are really high-end racing tires. They make all kinds of tires for different motorsports, and they're really good tires. But this is their parent company, whereas Maxxis is their premium brand, whereas this is more of a road daily tire. So this won't be their premium brand or expensive brand, but it will be their daily tire, and it's made in the same plants and made just as well as anything you're going to buy from the Maxxis brand. So anyway, I don't immediately see any kind of scuffs or anything on the anodizing. Everything looks really smooth. It's covered in like a light oil on the rims. I don't know if that's something they use to put the tires on or what, but I was kind of wondering when I got them if they would have tubes in them, because it didn't mention on the eBay ad anywhere about tubes. It just said wheel, tire, blah blah blah, the size of the tire, but they are definitely full of air. So that's a plus. And like I said, this is the front wheel. So we'll set that to the side. And in there we have the front disc for the wheel. And this is a 320mm floating disc. So that, whereas the other one on there is a, man, I can't think, what was it, be like a 220 probably, or something like that. It's quite a bit smaller. So with the street tire, you want a bigger disc, and it's going to allow you better stopping power for the road. And this also comes with the bracket, so I'll dig out the bracket out of there in a minute. And we're going to have a nice large street disc on there. So we'll set that up there so we don't damage it. We'll get out the rear tire here. Just rip this off this time. And we've got more protection for the hubs. Rip all that off. And here we have another nice tire. I don't think I mentioned it, but these are all 17-inch tires. They say tubeless on the tire because the tire is actually tubeless, but it will have a tube in it since we have spokes. Every spoked wheel will have a tube, unless you do some kind of tubeless mod to them. And I don't immediately see anything wrong with it. Looks really good. The only thing I do see is that they did not match up the dot with the valve stem. Usually that goes right match to the valve stem. This is completely opposite of it, so I don't think it'll be a big deal, but we'll see. If we have to switch it, we will. And they didn't match it up on the front tire either. It's not even completely opposite of it. It's like the dot's here and then the valve stem's just to the side of it a bit. So next we have the rear disc, which is the same size as your stock disc on your S model. I have an S model, so if you didn't know from the beginning of the video, I'm converting an S model to an SM model. So for the rear disc, it'll be the same size, no modifications necessary. For the front disc, it'll be a larger size, which will require a bracket. And funny thing is, I emailed the guy and he told me that it did not come with these bolts. And here they are in the thing. So I'm going to tell him that he needs to update his auction and he might get, you know, an extra sale or something. I don't know. I actually ordered OEM stuff because I didn't want to be switching my OEM stuff off of my tires. I want to make it a quick, easy swap. Pulling axle bolts out and switching it. Let's see. Here is the rear sprocket, 44 tooth. Everything looks really nice on it. I'm not so much a big fan of the different, I forget what they call these, hybrid. Yeah, I believe they're called hybrid sprockets when they contain two different pieces to make up one solid sprocket. But that's my first one, so we'll see how it lasts. Here you have wheel spacers with your bearing seals. So the bearings are already in the wheels with the bearing seals. I actually already have some brand new Moose Racing bearings for front and rear, so I'm probably for now going to leave the Chinese bearings in there, but I may end up down the line switching them because I just don't know if I trust the bearing itself. I mean, it might be just fine, but here is your front brake caliper bracket. So that'll raise your brake from right here for the smaller disc, like up and out like this for the larger disc. And that is all aluminum. It looks nicely machined. Alright, that is in the box. And you also get a KKE Racing thing here. No stickers, unfortunately. But it does have some instructions here, how the hubs and everything went together, and your parts and everything, part numbers. So if you had to order anything, you've got part numbers. And there is the brand. It probably won't focus, but okay, there it goes. There's the brand. Like I said, you can just search KKE on eBay and you'll find the wheels pretty quickly. There's all kinds of them out there. I really wanted the ones with the cush drive for your rear sprocket. So most street bikes have a cush drive, and that's what I wanted. But they didn't come with tires, and I didn't want to have to order tires separate and all that. So I thought I'd just try out these tires and see how I liked them, and then do without the cush drive, because I don't have a cush drive now and I don't mind it. It's not such a big deal. So we're gonna go ahead and put these tires on the my little wheel truer, and we're gonna see how true they are, because it does mention in the ad that, you know, they are trued and all that, but when you get them you want to just double check them for, like, I guess shipping. Maybe something happened in shipping, so double check them. So we're gonna go over there and do that. So I know you're not gonna be able to see a whole lot from what I'm seeing, because you're gonna have to be at like the right angle at different times. But what I'm noticing as soon as I put it on is that the tire is out of balance, and I can kind of show you, this isn't a balancer, it's a truing stand, but with it on here I can tell it's out of balance, because if I just hold the tire still and let go of it, you can see it starts to go. And eventually, I did this a few times, a few different ways, and every single time it ended up with the valve stem at the bottom, which makes sense because, you know, the valve stem is going to add extra weight compared to other areas that don't have the valve stem. So every time it settles with the valve stem down here in dead center. So that tells me they are out of balance. So being street tires, you want to have your tires balanced, so I may have to do that pretty soon. Whereas dirt tires and stuff, they don't need to be balanced, because it's it's a dirt tire. You're not going fast enough to notice, which, being on a DRZ400, you may not be going fast enough to notice anyway. I mean, a DRZ can be pretty quick. You can do 75, 80, 90, and some people's DRZs can do 90. But you know, it just depends on how fast you're going, whether you're going to notice it. I can give it a good spin here, and I immediately notice there's a hop in it. And I think it's almost like it's got a flat spot on it. Let me see if I can see where it's at. Right there. So right there, I can actually see it with my eye, that right here, this tire, this side looks fine and uniform. This side right here drops down, and it's really got like a something going on with it. I can't say what. I'm not a tire expert of what to call that, but just doing that, it shouldn't be. And I can almost see it on the other side too, now that I look at it. The other side's right here. right in this spot. So, and that, you know, that could be because it's not fully inflated too. So that could be the issue, because I can press right there and it's not, you know, we're not inflated all the way. So I'll just go ahead and wait before I make judgment on that till we fully inflate it. But right now I can definitely see the hop. I can see one in this side and one in this side. I'll have to mark it to see if they're actually in the same spot, and then I'll kind of know what's going on with it. But it could be just because they're underinflated right now, which they are. I can absolutely press down into this pretty good. So let's move on to the truing, and I'll see if I can get you guys a shot of that. Probably won't be the greatest shot because it's just something that's kind of hard to do. Alright, so that's probably about as good as it's going to get for you guys. Go ahead and see if I can loosen this, because it's still in the setting for my dirt bike wheels, so just aim it up a little bit. We'll just try to get something close here. We'll see what we got going on. There, that should be just about dead on right there. Alright, I'm going to go slowly. I don't want to, if it does have something going on with it, I don't want to scrape the rim by spinning it quick. Okay, it should be good right there. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of take a look at it here. It actually looks pretty darn good. I don't see anything major in it. It's got a little deviation, but that's not too uncommon. But something that they, you know, built and sent to you, I guess. It's all right. So let's go ahead and back this off so I don't scrape the rim. I want to flip it to the other side just to kind of have a double check here. And we'll go back in. Alright, one slow spin in case we got any major runouts. Alright, let's give it a spin here. Yep, looks good on this side too, so I'd call that good. We'll go ahead and tap the spokes and make sure everything's tight. I don't know how a lot of people do this, but I just kind of listen for a different sound. Okay, everything's really consistent. So let's go ahead and come to this side. Alright, everything's real consistent. So I think everything's good and tight. I think this wheel's ready to go on, and we will give it some air pressure. Actually, let's go ahead and give it some air pressure now, because I want to see if that hump goes away. Alright, these call for 40 psi. I put 30 in it, and to me it looks like everything I seen was gone, and it's because there was literally no air pressure in here. So that might have been just the hump from sitting in the shipping box. So we'll go ahead and spin it here, and I'll try to hold this still. I don't see anything that's gonna do anything here. They look pretty darn good to me. Before, it was definitely had a hop to it. So we're going to call this rear one good, and I'm going to go ahead and put the air pressure in that one and check it on the truing stand, and then we're going to move on. I'm not going to film checking that one, but if I find anything wrong with it, I'll film it. But if it's the same as this one, we'll just go ahead and move on to putting it on the bike. Alright guys, so it's been about 20 minutes, and I spent that time putting on the brake rotor, and I put on the sprocket on this side, and I also put in the bearing seals and the spacers that are going to go in it. So on, so you can see what I'm doing here. On this side, we've got the rotor. This stuff you'll want to Loctite. There's no nut on the back. It's going to go right into the aluminum. You're going to want to Loctite it. So I've used blue Loctite for that. And on this side, we have the what I call just carriage bolts with the nut on this other side, and it's got a washer in between the nut washer and the hub. And they are nylon nuts, but I went ahead and Loctited them as well with blue Loctite because you just can't be too safe on, you know, on your drivetrain. As far as the bearing seals, I just greased them up a little bit, and I like to use this waterproof green grease recommended to me by a friend. It's multi-purpose, heavy-duty synthetic grease, and it's great for this, and it's great for your axles when you put them in. As far as the bearing seals, I tapped them. I pushed them in as far as I could with my fingers. Then I tapped them in with a rubber mallet, and then I used this. This is the exact diameter socket as these bearing seals, and it does not have a size on it, so I can't tell you what size it is, but it was absolutely dead on. So I tapped them the rest of the way down. It didn't require much, just tapped it down, and then I put in the bearing or the axle spacers here. And there's a different one for the different sides. So this side is going to have the longer one because, of course, this side is your sprocket side. It has 2 bearings, and this side is your rotor side. It has 1 bearing. So this is going to take the shorter one, and they'll fit in perfectly. And I also greased the inside of them and greased where they rub on the bearing seal. And of course, you're going to have grease on your axle, but I ended up greasing them anyway, just for a little extra protection there. So we are 100% ready to go on. So we're going to see how well or not well I can line this up to get the rotor inside of that. And man, it's already a tight fit getting in this. So I'm probably going to have to just wiggle this in there somehow. It's not catching on the brake. I think it's catching on this sprocket right here that I'm pushing into that. So this is going to be the tough part. I can see it already. Get around to this side. I might have to slide this completely off. Slide the caliper all the way off. And then get this in there. I think I can just slide the caliper right back up in there. We'll see here. Might have to figure out a better way to do all of this, but I think also the problem is my jack has bled out on me. These Walmart black jacks are just not that great. 2.5 ton capacity, but it's got 1,000 freaking capacity of leakage on it. So now let's just try this again. Maybe I don't have to take this caliper off. Maybe it's just because my jack was too low. Slide that back up there. Now let's give it a shot. Because we got the chain guide in the way. Okay, I can already tell that's going in a little bit easier, but that chain guide is just right in the way. Yeah, it's not even the caliper, it's that chain guide. I just wonder if we're going to have to let the air out of this tire, because it is definitely that chain guide just getting right in the way. Okay, now we're there. Alright, so overall I think swapping these tires is probably going to be about a 30-minute job, depending on how long I fight this. You know, if I'm wanting to go from dirt to street, I think it'll be an average of about 30 minutes. Because until I get down the technique of exactly how to slide this in there. But now we are good. Everything fit. And you know what? I can't remember if it was the back or the front that I always fought the axle spacers. They kept falling out, but these did not fall out at all. And that could have been because of the grease. Let's go ahead and put that on it. I don't have to run it around that chain or that axle part. Alright, so far so good. We're in our brake over there. Now, of course, the jack's too high. Alright, we are there. We are absolutely there. So on my on my dirt setting, I've been on a spacer setting of 1. So I'm sure this one's going to have to go a little bit more, but we'll check the play and everything in it once we get done here. Alright. So your spacers on your S wheels are exactly the same. They're not going to be any more depth to them. But these on these Supermoto wheels are going to have different depth to them. Oh yeah, that already looks good on there. Even with the frickin' 21-inch sitting on there, it looks cool. Alright, so yeah, we're going to be in a pretty high setting on here, but it's still doable. And I can already tell we're going to have enough slack. So if the chain does stretch, that we will be able to have some adjustment left. Get some of this stuff out of the way. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten this one back together, and then we're going to get going on the front. Alright, it's probably an hour and a half later. Like, I literally struggled with that front tire. Unreal. So let's go over a couple things. I can see my fork boots twisted. I'll have to fix that. Let's go over a couple things that I had to do to get this to fit. I knew I was going to have to take off this stock piece of bracket that goes down here that your slider goes in, and then it bolts it to your front fork. But I didn't realize I was going to take off the stud. There's a slide stud here that needs to go into that slot, and you bolt it to your new bracket, your new aluminum bracket. So I got that done. I Loctited that stud into there, re-greased everything. Then I went over on the other side and replaced my drive gear, or this is for your speedo. This is what works it on the wheel, transfers via cable up to your speedometer. Of course, this is for the S model, for the bigger 21-inch tire, and that'll keep your speed correct for the S model 21-inch wheel. Now, if you want your speed to be correct for the smaller wheels, you need to get the SM model version of this, which I got. Went to put it on, and the little screw right there that holds the cable in, of course, it's a Japanese Phillips thread, and it probably hasn't been out since this bike was new in 2001. It stripped out because I didn't have the correct. I got Japanese bits for my little hand impact driver, but I don't, and those are large ones for like older Japanese bikes. This one's like a small one, so I didn't have the correct one, and it stripped. So I took my Dremel and of course cut a flathead across it, and then it came right out with the hand impact. So if you don't have one of these in your shop, you need to get one, because these are amazing, and they'll tighten things and loosen things. I've never tightened anything with it, but I guess if you needed to, you could. So I had to have that to get that off, and I also had to have it to get my piece out right here on the bottom of the brake. That's like a little flathead cap right there, and then underneath that's an Allen head that takes out your other slider to take your brakes off. I've had to take that out before, and but it was hard to get out this time. So instead of using a flathead and stripping it, I went ahead and just tapped it once. It pops it right out and loosens it, and it made everything 10 times easier. So if you don't have one of those, definitely get one of those before you start this. But I'm going to go ahead and leave that a flathead, because if I order an OEM one of them, it's going to be the same thing. And that was a brand, I mean, that hadn't been touched. It wasn't stripped before I touched it. So I'm just going to leave it a flathead. Then if it happens again, I've already got the notch cut, use the impact and take it right out. So what took me an hour and a half, beyond that flathead issue on that speedometer part down there, putting this big SM rotor on. So what happens is this rotor won't, like a normal wheel, you slide it from the front, it goes in the brake pads. Works great. Worked on street bikes I've had, worked on the, when I had the 21-inch on here. With this, it would not slide in there. It just, like, it would slide back, but this thing has to come in from the side because there's so little of room right here that it had to come in from the side. So what I had to do was completely take out all the bolts on this caliper, loosen the caliper, let that slide in, push the caliper or the rotor back in, and then tighten up all the rotor bolts, and then tighten everything else up. So that was a pain in the ass because it wouldn't slide in from the side, or it wouldn't slide in from the front with the wheel on and everything together. It wouldn't come in for me to put the axle bolt through, and it wouldn't go on where I already had the wheel on, then try to put this in from the side. It wouldn't go on that way either because the brake pads were catching. So that was an absolute pain in the ass. But after all that, it looks pretty dang good. So what I'm going to do now, it's actually started raining a bit, but it quit now. I'm going to adjust my chain, double check everything, and then I'm going to take it for a ride. And I need to fix that fork boot because it's twisted for some reason. But anyway, it definitely looks freaking cool. And if you're wondering, I've changed that front fender. That's not a stock DRZ front fender. That's actually I can't think of the name, but it's one that I got from Pro Cycle, and it came for the DRZs. But it's definitely a lot better than the banana fender that came on these earlier models. So anyway, it definitely looks a lot lower. I think that's from the front. A lot of people said when you put SM wheels on, you're going to want to put risers on your handlebar. So I don't know if I'll need that yet. I guess I'll take it for a ride and see. But I'm going to go ahead and back it out of the garage and adjust my chain, and then I'm going to take it for a ride. I'll probably post a ride video later on, and then I'll have like an explanation of what I think about it first ride, that kind of thing. So this will probably end this video right here. If anybody's got any questions, something I didn't cover, I'm sure there's something I forgot to cover. This ain't really a tutorial, but it's just issues that I ran into because yeah, never swapped Supermoto wheels onto a dirt bike before. But it's all ready to go now. Everything is together. Everything's Loctited. Everything that needs anti-seize has been anti-seized. Everything, I've re-greased all the front brakes. I didn't do the backs because I didn't have to take them apart, but when I put my dirt wheels back on, I'll go ahead and do that. But anyway, appreciate everybody watching. Hopefully this video doesn't turn out too long, and stay tuned for the next video, the ride video and first thoughts video. Thanks for watching.